Hey guys, today we're going to talk about the Scotch Thermal Laminator for creating cards for board games. Um, got one of these a few weeks ago at Walmart for $21.88, and I also got the Pen Gear 3M letter size sheets. I only got the 50 counts. I wanted to make sure they worked at Walmart as well. I think they were like $9. So I'm going to show you how to set it up, put the cards in the actual sheets because that's kind of important, feeding it through the laminator, and giving you my opinion on it. So here's the Scotch Laminator. One of the important things I learned with the laminator, what actually doing my research, is to make sure that you purchase one with a release lever. So what this will do is flop open the actual cover, allow you to get out of paper jam. Now, reading this model, if you go online, I've read a lot of people showing that their papers crumbled or they were constantly jamming. I have not experienced that issue myself. But we also have the power over here. To turn it on, it's as simple as clicking the power. And as you see, the very first light is the 3M, and then you have the 5M. Well, we want the 5M, and the light below here is an indicator that the actual laminator is ready. According to the documentation, in my experience, it takes approximately about 5 minutes for it to heat up to be able to do your laminating. The power cord is actually on the bottom here, and you actually can unwrap it and wrap it back up when you're done and just plug it into the actual power supply or power device. And you have this little tray which actually pops down and up and back into the back. I'll show you this while it's heating up. See the back of it? It just flops down, and there's the actual area where your power cord resides, and you wrap around. But we're going to let this sit here for a few moments and let it heat up. One other important thing I almost forgot to tell you, whenever you're laminating, you want to make sure that when the laminating paper comes down, it comes onto a flat surface. One of the things I learned, because I let it fall off the side of a desk, is when it does that, it actually puts a curl in the paper. Sometimes you can get it out by laying it flat down and putting books or some other heavy items on top of it to flatten out. You have to do it right away after the laminating process. And sometimes it just does not come out. So the best thing I've noticed to mitigate that problem is to let it laminate onto a flat surface so the actual laminating paper is laminated almost completely flat. Sometimes you'll have like a little curve to it, but it's very little. Let us take a look on how to put the actual paper in the actual laminating sheet. So this is your laminating sheet. And when I first started looking at it, I was like, how do I get this thing undone? I felt like each end was like stuck together. One of the tricks I discovered was use the side. It's funny, using the side actually is a lot easier to open the laminating sheet because it doesn't look very transparent on where you should open the sheet. And the best way to do it is by using the side, and it comes out very simple just like that. And another thing to note, and you're not going to see it here, but there's a very small lip at the bottom, so you're not going to come down completely flush when the paper comes in. Another thing to note when you're making cards for your game, when you're using laminating, you have to use a single sheet. You've got to get it lined up. This is a game for the museum. It doesn't look that great, the printout, simply because the ink in my printer is running low, and I just want to give you guys a demonstration. So if you're making your own cards, and this is the challenge I'm running into, you have to get these cards lined up on the same sheet of paper, whether you're using cardstock or regular sheets. I usually use cardstock to get it lined up on this sheet right, because if you don't get it lined up right, when you go to cut your cards, they're not going to line up properly. So what I do is just line this sheet up first to make sure I'm getting equal amounts, or close to equal amounts. It doesn't have to be perfect on each side. And then the next item you want to do is slide this down to the bottom. Try to get it as even as possible, because not only printing the things right to get it to line up on the sheet is important, it's also important to get these sheets lined up in the actual laminating paper, because when you go to cut it, and if these is not lined up not only vertically but horizontally, you're going to cut the sheets wrong and they're going to come out awkward. But normally what I do is line it up, make sure I have enough space on each side. I do this, this kind of helps it out a little bit, make sure it's lined up on the bottom, make sure I have this almost equal spacing on the sides and the bottom here. And that's the most important thing. And now we can go and do our laminating. As you can see here, the light is now on stating we're ready. Now, what I like to do before I just feed it right into the machine is start lining it up, because once the laminating machine grabs it, you don't have a chance to adjust it. So you want to make sure it's aligned properly and straight as possible before letting the machine grab it. And once it grabs it, you can't stop it. So here we go, we're laminating. What I do is laminate on both the top and the bottom. So once this goes through and we get our flat surface here, I'll flip it over on the other side and laminate the other side. You can also do these with, one-sided. I do this with like print and play games where you roll dice and you put numbers on this the actual specific device. On the actual sheet of paper. So this way I'm not constantly printing the same paper over and over, and I use dry erase markers so I can constantly reuse the same sheet over and over and over again. Oops, I'm going to short there at the camera. Now I'm going to flip it on the other side, do the same thing. Like I said before, if you use two sheets of paper and you stick it together, it won't work. Doing this 2 times guarantees that this single sheet of paper will actually seal both sides when you go to cut it. I've done it where I put it on the actual 3M heating and only did it once, and the 5M heating on 3M paper, which this is what it is, it's 3M paper, and it only stuck to one side. So I do both sides, heat it up, and that way every single time whenever I go to cut it, it sticks to both sides and they're sealed. Also wanted to let you know that I used the Walmart 3M paper, and it works perfectly fine. So since using this product, I went back and repurchased more paper. Also, let you know you're going to hear this humming sound as long as this thing is still on. It keeps it heated up, and also you'll have like a little smell to it from doing the lamination process, and that's normal. I'm going to go and cut these papers and show you what they look like. Hey guys, so here's what the cards look like. They're actually, if you can see what I'm talking about, is here sealed on the side. If these weren't sealed, this would actually open up and you could actually see the card stuck to one side or the other. So that's why I do it twice. My cutting skills definitely still needs to improve, and that's mostly on me here. I'm thinking about getting a different device to slice and make it a little more accurate. These, if you're a person who likes cards that has that texture, you might not like this because it has a smooth texture. There's really no texture to these. And sometimes I'm only having 2 cards. But when you're shuffling, sometimes they'll slide because it has more of a smoother texture than your normal cards that you play with. But for me, spending $20, $30 to make my own cards for my stock game and doing some print and play games that I do for maps and other cards such as this, I think it's a steal. Instead of going and always, if you can download some of the print and play stuff and save on, just printing once and laminating, and like I said, using markers to write on them, using erasable markers, of course. Have the eraser on them, and I got those for like $6 at Walmart. It came with, I think, 6 markers with the erasers on top. Yeah, and be able to create your own cards. It's great. There are other mechanisms I've seen online. I might try that a little bit later with using glue. It's definitely more in depth than this. This is, I think, the easier route to do. And like I said, either way you go, if you use gluing it, spraying it, that way actually gives you the texture, but it doesn't give you the what I would think is the flexibility, meaning these feel like these will last a lot longer because they're protected and covered. You might be able to create it the other way using the can spray and then maybe laminating it on top of that, but then you'll lose that texture again. But the actual laminator itself, I'm very happy. Like I said, I was very skeptical at first because I read so many reviews and people were showing these pictures of literally it was like crumbled, like when you crumbled together and throw it in a trash can. Like I said, I got the low-end model, and the disappointing thing with that was it literally only came with 2 sheets. I mean, come on, 2 sheets of paper. So when I was there, they had the 3M, Scotch, and the 3M Great. What did I say it was? Pen plus Gear. I think it was like the Walmart brand or a low-end brand, and that was cheaper than the Scotch. So I was like, I'll get the 50 sheets for $9, and if it doesn't work, I'll only lose $9. The actual 100 sheets, I think it was like 22. I mean, on a per page basis, it's better. But I was like, well, to experiment, I'll just break down and get the $9 brand, and I'm happy with the sheets as well. So like I said, I went back because I've been doing a lot of print and play. I should say, really, my wife's been doing a lot of print and play, and I've been using it for my own personal cards for demo purposes. And pretty soon, hopefully, I can get these cards lined up and I can actually see them and show them to you guys. But I would highly recommend going to Walmart and buying this. It's very easy to set up. I haven't had any paper jams. It says 5 minutes to heat up. It's truthfully, to me, doesn't seem like it. Maybe 3 or 4 minutes. The process is very simple. It's easy to tear down and set back up. Like I said, there's going to be like a little learning curve on how to use it, but it is very simple to use, and I highly recommend buying the Scotch brand at Walmart for $21.99. If you have any questions, just leave them below, and I'll get back with you. If you wish to receive future content such as this, please click the subscribe button. And as always, thank you very much for taking your time to watch this video, and I hope you have learned something from this, and have a wonderful day.